Nerd morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy, and today I'm going to be talking about some breaking news that just happened with DC Comics. They released a press release, and I want to talk about that release with you guys, kind of go through that with you, because there's some big things happening and that they're announcing for DC Comics that's coming up. So DC Comics has announced what they're going to be doing for the first 2 months of 2021 and how the rest of that year is going to look. So let's go through this press release together, and I'll talk about and expand and go through some of the ideas that I have with this about this press release. So this is straight from Burbank, California, from DC Comics. DC is starting 2021 off with a bang, giving fans a glimpse into futures both near and far, full of current and new characters, as the publisher announces plans today for DC's Future State, a 2-month line-wide event beginning in January. So line-wide event means that it's going to be encompassing all of their titles. It's going to be involved in everything really that they're doing, and that looks like that's going to be lasting for 2 months. And that's going to be starting in January 2021, and it's going through February 2021. So the full lineup will feature a combination of monthly and twice-monthly oversized anthologies, as well as a monthly schedule of miniseries and one-shots. So we're going to be seeing some big stories that are happening here. It looks like we're going to get some things that are monthly, things that are going to be twice monthly, as well as we're going to be seeing these miniseries, which looks like the miniseries are like 4 issues, and that's what we're going to be getting from those miniseries. Okay, so continuing with their announcement, they say this: DC Future State spotlights the world's greatest superheroes in fresh new roles, with all new characters taking up their iconic mantles. So this means that we're going to see a Batman who's not Bruce Wayne. We're going to be seeing these other characters. Superman is not going to be Clark Kent, and we're going to be seeing other people take on those roles. Now, if this sounds familiar to you, then it should, because there are a couple of things that are going on here that sound like some things that we've seen before. If we think back with New 52, there was a series called Future's End, which was kind of this futuristic story that started from May 2014 through April 2015, and it had like a 48-issue run. And that was kind of this futuristic thing, but it really kept most of those characters as themselves. But we kind of saw this future look. And that's something that would happen with the New 52 era. But more recently, DC Comics had previously had this big overarching change that they were going to be doing called 5G. And what that was kind of like was that they're saying the old original stuff was the first generation, the stuff that was going on right now was like the 4th generation, and that 5th generation was going to give all new characters and all new people who were taking on the mantle and the roles of these characters. Pretty much what we're seeing here, where all new characters are taking up the iconic mantles. So they are essentially doing some 5G plans, but they're condensing it down into a 2-month experience, so they're able to continue on with the comics and the stories as we have seen previously, in order to be able to kind of push those characters and titles, because those intellectual properties are worth a lot, and people really love that Bruce Wayne is Batman and that Clark Kent is Superman. And though I think that people are also really interested in exploring other things, they're able to explore that a little bit here, but they also kind of hint that maybe some of those things could be explored as well moving in the future because of what's happening here. So either way, I think that this is opening the doors as well as not necessarily shutting doors on what we've had in the past. So I like the balance that they're approaching here. We'll see how that plays out, but that's kind of what it's looking like. So they go on. In March 2021, the regular DC title lineup resumes. So we're going to get back to the regular Batman stories and things like that. Continuing existing storylines from 2020, so they're going to be pulling from the events and things that are going on currently, saying that they're not going to be doing a full-wide reboot after this, but that they're going to be just kind of going and continuing from where they left off, which I think is cool because Between New 52 and the stuff that happened before that, there was a big severing divide. It was a huge reboot, and they retconned a lot of different things in order to make that work. And we, like, I don't know, that's a really amazing thing, because New 52, right at the beginning of that, is an awesome jumping on point for people. If you want to start reading comics and you don't want to have, like, 75 years worth of back history, like, jumping on a New 52 is an easy spot to be able to jump on there, and then you don't have to worry about all that earlier stuff, and you can move forward in a really comfortable place. And that was really nice there. But having a big cutoff break and a whole reboot isn't necessarily the only way you can do that. You can kind of be like, this is a good starting fresh point. There is past stories, there is these background things, but we can kind of talk about and reintroduce those things as the stories move forward. And that's pretty much what they've done as DC Comics previously, in most instances. And I think that's what we're going to be seeing inside of the 2021 line, is that we're going to be able to have people who are new readers jump in and be okay and comfortable, but there is still going to be some of that history behind that they're going to be able to discover and work into, but they won't need that right at the start. That's kind of my take on what I'm seeing here. And they also continue that statement saying, and introducing new arcs for the year. So they're going to be introducing some new titles, and hopefully be able to have some of the titles that had canceled be either revamped or reworked in some new way. So like Harley Quinn, Aquaman, and many other titles that are pretty regular titles have ended and concluded this year, and we may be able to see them come up again. Maybe it's going to be Harley Quinn and somebody, or Aquaman and somebody. Like, they might be able to like combine or fuse some different characters in order to be able to give more spotlight to other individuals. We don't really know exactly how that's going to work, but they've canceled or concluded a whole bunch of stories as they've been wrapping up this year, and we have a lot of title like open space for new titles to come in, and we may see some of those be returning titles, maybe other ones being new titles completely different, and some might even stem from what we get from the future state. So those are some of the things that we have potential to look forward to with that. Okay, so moving forward in this, in the DC future state, the multiverse has been saved from the brink of destruction, but the triumph of DC's heroes has shaken loose the very fabric of time and space. So that's kind of their foundation for what they're going to be using as the like benchmark of the conflict for this event and all of these different stories. And they're tying this in with this. They say, the final chapter of Dark Knight's Death Metal, on sale January 5th, 2021, brings new life to the DC's multiverse, kicking off this glimpse into the unwritten worlds of DC's future. So this event. And if you guys are reading things that have happened with like Doomsday Clock and with Death Metal, like, they are like pushing for a reboot or a revamp or some type of big change. And when I was hearing things from like Jim Lee, he made a statement that said, we're not doing a wide scale reboot in 2021. He talked about that like last month. I was like, how? They've got all of this pushing forward towards something, and it was ultimately, originally, as they were doing their big plan, probably pushing towards that 5G event and like reboot, but then they pulled that away, and so they kind of came up with this as a condensed experience for that, and that is really where Future State is stemming from, is some of those crisis level events that they had been doing at the end of this year. Moving forward, I have a quote from executive editor Marie Javins. She says this: the DC Universe has always been a fertile ground for new and refreshing takes on our characters. The DC Future State definitely contributes to this legacy. I love that because, like, with things like Elseworld titles and the multiverse, like, we've been able to see a whole slew of versions of Batman, a whole slew of versions of Wonder Woman, a whole slew of versions of Superman. They've done things with the gender bending, they've done with different races, they've done with different, like, their heroes and now they're villains, and they've been able to explore a whole lot of things. And I love that. They make, what if, Batman was actually a vampire, and like a whole bunch of different stories where they kind of say, well, what if it was like this? Or why don't we have some representation like this? Or like they've been able to do that, and all those different Elseworld titles and multiverse stories have a place here, and like it's able to be a place where you can have your Batman, you can have your Superman, you can have your Wonder Woman, and that those types of like things are able to be expressed and able to be told, and this future state is going to be able to enable some of that, and I think that's super cool. And I love that we can say, yeah, Bruce Wayne is Batman, but also like we are Batman. Like we can have our versions of Batman, and those types of things can exist, and they do those with all these different stories. She continues and says this: when the event begins in January, some savvy readers will not only pick up on some of the breadcrumbs that have been already tossed out into our current titles, but they will also find new hints and clues of what's to come in 2021. So Future State is not only going to be just kind of this separate nucleus thing, but it's seemingly connected with what we've been talking about before. Particularly, I think with stuff with death metal is going to be really, really strong in this, but also they're saying that there's going to be setting up and enabling things and stories in the future, and that's really exciting. That's really interesting to see, and we'll see exactly how that all gets put together. So they go on and they talk about how all these amazing team members are going to be there, some really amazing writers, some amazing artists. We've got a lot of things to look forward to that. And I'm going to kind of skip through some of that stuff, and I'm going to be breaking down some of the different issues that we're going to be seeing in the next couple of months with this future state, and what are things that maybe you're going to be excited to see and read. So the first one is kind of with the Bat family. This is what they say about that. In the future, Gotham City is controlled by a magistrate. The villainous regime has taken control of the city, now under constant surveillance. All masked vigilantes have been outlawed, and Batman has been killed. But led by an all-new Batman, a new assembly of Gotham's guardians rise to give hope to all those who lost it. So this is a good example of kind of the thing that they're going to be doing. Bruce Wayne, he's dead, but there is a new Batman that is being here and is doing things, and we have that continuation of that Bat story in Gotham, but it's going to be a whole new, interesting, fresh look. And I don't think this is going to be like a Batman Beyond. This is going to be a whole new future Batman. So here's some of the titles that we're going to be seeing in that. So Future State, The Next Batman 1 through 4. The first one being The Next Batman. The second being Outsiders, which kind of is like Batman of the Outsiders. I hear some resonance there. The next one, Arkham Knights, which makes me think of the video game, which is super cool, super exciting. The next one, Batgirls. And they actually had a thing with multiple Batgirls and like a team of things in the Future's End, inside of the New 52, the end of that. And I thought that was a really cool, interesting thing that they were able to kind of explore and play with. So maybe we'll see that a little bit. Also, we kind of have set up right now things with Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown that are like right now putting on the bat symbol on their individual uniforms, even though they're Spoiler and Orphan and not Batgirl, because we have Barbara Gordon as Batgirl right now inside of the current titles. And I don't know, maybe we're going to be having multiple Batgirls all at once in the future. That's something to consider, something that we'll potentially see here. We also have Gotham City Sirens, which I think is going to be awesome. All right, the next one that we have here is Future State Dark Detective. We're going to have 1 through 4 of that. We're going to have Dark Detective. We're also going to have Grifters and Red Hood. So those are other stories that are going to be inside of that. All right, monthly miniseries. Future State Batman Superman. So that'll be cool. Future State Catwoman. Future State Harley Quinn. Future State Nightwing. Future State Robin Eternal. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Superman family here. What they talk about here is due to the involvement of an international crisis happening in the near future, Clark Kent has been rejected by Earth, causing him to focus his life-saving efforts outside of his adopted home. So Clark Kent is kicked out. He is no longer able to go to Earth, and he has to go elsewhere, I guess. He travels to Warworld to rise through the ranks of gladiator combat in order to defeat Mongol with the help of some unlikely heroes. And so I guess like he's going to be dealing with that, and that's how his story of Clark Kent. So that's interesting. Clark Kent's going to exist, but he's not really like the Superman of Earth. And I don't know. So that's interesting. We're going to have him and something else. Back in Metropolis, Clark's son John has taken on the mantle of Superman. After seeing the horrors that befell Gotham, he bottles Metropolis in order to keep it safe. So I'm seeing like using some of that technology that we had to trap a whole city. Like he's like trapped it and maybe kept it safe that way. Which I don't know. That's almost super villain like, but you know maybe he's got some reasons there. But that's this. They say this, putting him at odds with Supergirl. So Supergirl's still around, and now they're not necessarily going to be best buddies. So that's, I don't know, that's interesting. Okay, so moving forward, connecting the two oversized Future State Superman titles, Shiloh Noman, the man known as Mr. Miracle. Now that's not the Mr. Miracle I know, so that's interesting. They're saying there's going to be a new person who's like donning this responsibility, finds himself caught between the city he grew up in and a battle-torn planet that could be his downfall. So that's interesting. A new Mr. Miracle. Meanwhile, in the Amazon rainforest, Yara Flor is chosen to be the new Wonder Woman. Years later, the new Superman and Wonder Woman join forces to save their cities in a new superhero team-up, the likes of which the world has never seen. So those are going to be on oversized comics. Future State Superman of Metropolis 1 and 2. We're also going to have The Guardian and Mr. Miracle. Future State Superman Worlds of War is going to have 4 titles. And Midnighter is also another one that's going to be inside of that. Black Racer and also a Mr. Miracle. Future State Immortal Wonder Woman. It looks like there's going to be 2 issues for that. And we're also going to have a title called Nubia, which is awesome for those who know who she is. So it's cool, exciting things for that. Monthly miniseries and one-shots that we're going to be seeing as well. Future State House of El. Future State Kara Zor-El Superwoman. Future State Legion of Superheroes. Future State Superman Wonder Woman. So there's that team up they were mentioning there. And then Future State Superman versus Imperious Lex. It looks like that's going to be a 3-issue series that's going to be ending in March. And then Future State Wonder Woman. Okay, so those are the different titles and things that we have for the individual characters. We're also going to be experiencing kind of a new, fresh imagination of Justice League. So the new league is going to be built upon secret identities, even from each other, which is an interesting note that they're not really revealing their identities because the previous Justice League, like everyone knew who everyone was, and they had this like bond and trust, and we might not be seeing that level of trust in this team, even though they're working together. It looks as well that they are going to be breaking up both a standard Justice League and also a supernatural hero team of Justice League Dark, and they're saying that that's going to be shifted around just a little bit. There are going to be stories that involve Flash, Shazam, Teen Titans, and something that they're calling Titans Academy, which sounds cool, kind of maybe a Teen Titans like training experience where they're maybe gathering new heroes or training these new heroes before they send them off. And I don't know, I think that sounds really awesome. Okay, so this is what they talk about for the Flash. Barry Allen is cut off from the Speed Force, a famine-controlled Wally West may be beyond saving, and Billy Batson makes a deal with the devil that will change Shazam forever. So that's some really big things that are going on, some interesting takes on that. There's going to be some stuff that's going on with the Green Lanterns, and they are maybe even introducing some new characters with the Green Lanterns as well. And then as well, we're going to have Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad. This is going to be on Earth 3, and it says that it's going to be terrifyingly familiar. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Again, with Future's End, that was in New 52, we kind of had these like monstrosity, like recreations of the Suicide Squad, and like there were like just like horrifying versions of like Harley Quinn and things like that. And that was a future telling that they had. Maybe they're going to be calling back some of the elements that they had from those stories. Maybe something completely different. But I don't know. I think it's interesting they're saying terrifyingly familiar. We're also going to have a Swamp Thing where he reveals his true intention of ruling supreme until a remnant of humanity launches a rebellion. So Swamp Thing's, I guess, trying to take over the world or take over the universe. I don't know. We're going to see what that looks like, and also some stuff with Black Adam. So for these oversized comics, we have Future State, Justice League 1 and 2. We're going to have Justice League as well as Justice League Dark, Future State Green Lantern 1 and 2, Last Lanterns, and Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. Also, we're going to have Future State Suicide Squad 1 and 2, Suicide Squad, Black Adam. The monthly miniseries that we're going to be having as well here, the Future State Aquaman, Future State The Flash, Future State Teen Titans, Future State Shazam, and Future State Swamp Thing. So those are all the different things that we're seeing that are going to be coming out at the beginning of 2021 as part of this Future State event, which is again going to be a 2-month event. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be really different, really exciting. They're going to be doing so many things, and as well, we're going to be continuing with the stories we love and know, moving beyond that, and potentially see some of the ramifications or effects of these new introduced characters and explorations from Future State. Guys, what do you think about Future State? Are you excited about it? Are there any particular titles that you want to be sure to rereading? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is big news. It's dropped today. You can find out more of that full press release on DC Comics' website, and you can go through and look all through those things. Definitely recommend that. I'll probably drop a link for that as well in the description below for you guys to be able to explore those things. Guys, thank you so much. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more news like this and updates as well. And thank you guys so much. We'll catch you guys next time.